Hello and welcome to Flowing with Angels. I hope you are all doing well. Thank you so much for joining me for this reading with timeless guidance from the angels. Let's take a look at today's cards and runes and see what comes through for us. So the first card that we see is called White Knight, and it reminds me of the energy of the spiritual warrior that showed up in the previous reading that I did. The appearance of the White Knight shows us that we are in touch with our inner guidance and, to an extent, independent of the outer world. We are following our own path in life, even if this means that we might walk alone or in solitude for a while. This is the path of the light worker, aiming to bring illumination and a purity of heart to our lives and that of others. However, with the Knight archetype, there is always a bit of a pitfall present, because the Knight often feels compelled to rescue people or fight external dragons, so to speak, which distracts him from his own inner needs and vulnerabilities. A big part of his self-worth is interwoven in his continuous support and service to others who are often less fortunate or even dependent upon his presence in their lives. So if our focus is turned outwards most of the time, and we are in full armor and constantly on the move, we miss out on the opportunity to really evaluate our own life, where we are, where we wish to go, what no longer serves us, and what will nourish our dreams and support our highest goods. If we look at the colors on the card, we see a lot of cool colors and a harshness radiating from the Knight's armor. The Knight riding out with his sword held high also reminds me of the Knight of Swords. There is a lot of quick and sharp mental energy present here, and it is easy to forget that underneath it all there is a warm heart beating that is softly whispering its desires and guidance, but that can hardly be heard by this Knight in action. I feel that the angels are telling us that being a light worker or spiritual warrior does not mean sacrificing ourselves and spending all of our time and energy on causes outside ourselves or on people who have disproportionate expectations of us or place draining demands on us. Radiating a strong light of ownership of our own life and being a thriving example of living a life that is full and based on inner strength and on the right source of love and support, which is the universal source of love and light, is what truly will empower us as well as others. So an important message here, I feel, is the need to identify where we are caught up in structures and entanglements that drain us, and how we can bring back some color and nurturing warmth and well-being into our existence. So in order to feel what we need, we must slow down and pace ourselves. If this conjures up inner feelings of restlessness, this is a sign that there are still some ties active to the archetype of the Knight. There is an emotional payoff for being needed and caring, or rather carrying, others in some way. The angels are saying that any movement we make should be based on an internal decision, an intrinsic incentive, pure, honest and authentic, not based on outer push or pull factors that will keep us from taking true ownership over our lives. And we can only get to know our inner world in stillness. The two runes that we see in this reading are the Isa rune and the Perthro rune, and they both speak of a period of pause and reflection. Perthro is also the rune that encourages us to venture into the unknown and dive into the hidden aspects of ourselves and our lives that influence the flow and energy that is within and around us. The Knight archetype is a master in noticing and sensing what needs to be healed in another person, but he does not always take the time to self-reflect on shadow aspects or deep-seated pain, sorrow and disappointments. Now the second card shows that this time of self-reflection does not only apply to heavy energies, but also to our dreams and our heart's desires. How often do we actually sit down and imagine the life in which we would thrive? What does it look like? How does it feel? How are we behaving? How are we talking? How are others responding to us? And how are they treating us? The answers to these questions are like the seeds that we plant in the energy field of the cosmos, the signals we send out into the universe. The card of the farmer shows that we are responsible for plowing the soil of our lives, for sowing the seeds, for caring for our metaphorical garden and the harvest it will produce. We will eventually reap what we sow. So where the Knight is mostly a part of a system, a network of entanglements, the farmer works his own land. He pays attention to his own roots and groundedness. And to be able to do this, he has to know how to apply his resources, his time and his energy in the right way. The Knight energy does not only refer to our role in relation to others, but it also relates to how we treat ourselves and how our inner dialogue plays out. Are we always on the move, keeping ourselves busy so we feel valued and useful? Is there some pattern of trying to prove our worth and earn our rightful place? Or do we feel we are enough as we are and that we deserve the goodness and blessings of life without having to compensate for it? I feel many of us are at a turning point, somewhere between the energy of the Knight and the farmer. I feel the metaphorical icy armor of the Knight is beginning to melt, and this melted water is beginning to flow, fertilizing our farming lands. A calmer, more grounded energy surrounds us. Sometimes we might feel that our progress remains invisible, but beneath the surface, slow growth is still taking place, like in the form of better and more positive thoughts, for example, calmer responses to the world and the people around us, and a new rhythm of steady effort. When we look at the cards, it looks like the changing of seasons, from winter to spring, which is a very positive sign. The second rune of Perthrow is also known as the rune of chance, the turning of the wheel, like the wheel of fortune in the tarot. Winter's challenges are ending and new possibilities are emerging. Perthrow embodies the hidden, quiet processes that lead to sudden growth, similar to seeds breaking through the soil. We also see the beautiful warm sun on the card of the farmer, suggesting happiness and upliftment, fresh new growth, and the ox that is pulling the plow, symbolizing that energy of patience, perseverance, and the strength to stay dedicated and true to ourselves and to our goals and intentions. And as a cherry on the cake, we have the last card, which is the card of the Jinn. And the Jinn is like the genie who appears from the bottle to grant us 3 wishes. When the Jinn card shows up, it means that things are looking up for us and will unfold at a quicker pace and in surprising ways. The energy of the universe is flowing effortlessly to and through us, but it is up to us to be open to receive and to make the most of this increased momentum. The Jinn offers us advice how to do this, as he also represents the energy of what they call a final boss character, someone who tests if we are indeed in charge of our own lives, if we know how to deal with inner and outer resistance, and if we are able to focus our energy on our highest good, so we can then become a living example and inspiration of light and strength to others. So the Jinn brings in a heightened and intense flow of new fiery energy, which can also conjure up new initiations for us. Are we ready for change? Are we ready for a new path and a new way of being? The answers to these questions depend on the extent of inner work and growth that we have allowed. How we have found a balance between being a light worker knight, so to speak, and a grounded, nurturing farmer. The Perthrow rune radiates an air of destiny as well. The wheel turns when we are ready, when we have learned the lessons and undergone the transformations and initiations, and this really feels like a big turning point for us at this moment in time. So let's be open to what wants to occur and what wants to come up for us without resistance, and let's make sure that we sit down on our metaphorical throne, overseeing and taking responsibility for our lives, no longer giving away our power and releasing all restraints, and not taking onto our shoulders what is not ours to carry. Let's recognize the old repetitive stories and turn them into new empowered ones, is what the angels are saying as a final encouragement. So I would like to leave it at this. I hope you've enjoyed this reading and that it has brought you valuable insights. Sometimes just one particular sentence that we hear is enough to trigger something inside of us that will be the catalyst for great change. So thank you for being here. I'm sending you lots of love and light and many blessings as always. Until next time, namaste.